Hey everyone, welcome back to First-Hand Globetrotting. It's been a while since I traveled anywhere, so today I'm here to show you part 2 of my throwback vlog about a trip I took to Ireland in 2014. Part 1 was all about Dublin. I was wandering the busy streets, experiencing the Irish charm, learning about the struggle for Irish independence, spending some time inside an Irish jail, sampling some of Dublin's most famous beer, and so much more. If you missed part 1, the link is in the video description. And since this trip is from 2014, I apologize if the video isn't as high definition as my newer stuff. After leaving Dublin, I headed down to the southern part of Ireland and spent the night in Cork. I've been to Cork before and absolutely loved it there, but this time around it was just a pit stop, so I didn't get to spend very long in the city. I really wish I could have hung out there for a couple of days, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be on this trip. On day 4, while I was down this way, I had to go see one of the most famous tourist traps in Ireland, Blarney Castle. Just my luck, as soon as I got out of the car and started walking towards the castle, the rain started falling. As I got closer to the castle, it was actually more like the partially collapsed ruins of a castle, and not the well-maintained and refurbished ones you see a lot of places. I don't mean that in a bad way though. I actually really like seeing the wear and tear on older buildings, but I guess because it's so famous, I was expecting Blarney to be rebuilt and picture perfect. It was actually really cool how rocky the base of it is. The look of it was kind of like the castle's growing out of the stone below. But it's not really the castle itself that draws visitors, it's one of the stones that's built into the battlement, the Blarney Stone. As the legend goes, if you perform the ritual and kiss the stone, you get the gift of the gab. Basically, it's supposed to make you a great talker with a silver tongue. So I headed inside to check it out. I went into the great hall of the castle, and there was already a pretty long lineup to go upstairs. As I said before, this is a super popular tourist stop. You actually need to take a really old, tiny spiral staircase to get up to the top. There aren't any handrails, only a rope you hold onto as you spin up the stairs. Along the way there were a few little windows to look out, giving you a really nice view out over the grounds of the castle. If you're claustrophobic or get scared by steep old staircases, the walk up might be a little tough for you. As I went up, every once in a while I'd pass some of the other rooms in the castle, but they were mostly empty and I was more focused on climbing the stairs. Finally, I made it up to the top. And even if there wasn't a magical stone up there, it still would have been worth it just for the view. Battling my way up that narrow old staircase was definitely the right choice. The castle doesn't have a roof, so you can look down over the open rooms below. Basically, the entire upper area is just a line up to get to the Blarney Stone. And things were looking up since the rain must have stopped during my climb. As I was waiting there, I was able to peek over the walls and have a look at more of the scenery down below. Honestly, if you hadn't told me this was the world-famous Blarney Stone, I don't think I'd have even noticed it. So here's the secret technique you use to unleash the magic and get the gift of the gab. You lay on your back over a hole, grab onto some support bars, dip your head back, and give it a big kiss. I did it myself right before I shot this clip, but I don't know if I'm a better talker now or if it's already worn off. Now that I had gotten my dose of magic, I headed back down. But at least this time the staircase had a handrail. On the way back down, I actually took a little time to look around those rooms I saw on the way up. Since most of the inside of the castle is in ruins, you'll have to use your imagination if you want to picture them in their former glory. But like I said before, there's something really impressive about wandering around an old castle with huge stone walls surrounding you on every side. Seeing all of the big arched doorways and the holes for windows and all of the other little architectural details really makes you appreciate the skill that must have gone into building this hundreds of years ago. And who needs security cameras or alarms when you have a murder hole that you can use to dump boiling oil on any unwanted intruders? By now the lineup to get upstairs was way shorter, so I must have just picked a busy time to show up. After finishing up with the castle, there's actually a really big property you can explore and see some other sights. Just like the Blarney Stone itself, the rest of the property embraces the idea of tall tales and colorful stories. There's one person who lives on the estate that you might be interested in, the Witch of Blarney. If you're scared of witches, don't worry. During the daytime, she's trapped in a rock, so you'll only run into her in her stone form. But once nightfall arrives, she transforms back into a witch and is able to spend the night hanging out in the witch's kitchen. It's hidden underneath a big, sprawling tree with some jagged rocks protecting the witch from any prying eyes. The entire kitchen is just a few small rock walls and a tiny fireplace for the witch to do her cooking, but she lives a simple life, so that's all she needs to keep herself warm. But you might be asking yourself how the witch has enough wood to keep her fire burning. Well, she's allowed to take firewood from the Blarney Estate. There is one very important catch though. In exchange for the free wood, she has to grant wishes to the tourists who come to Blarney Castle. If you close your eyes and walk all the way down the wishing stairs, then all the way back up them while thinking about your wish, the witch will grant it within a year. It was kind of an old, slippery set of stairs to go up and down with my eyes closed, but I made it safely. I forget what it was that I wished for, but it must have come true, right? There's even a little waterfall down at the bottom in case you want to relax in nature while thinking about how great your wish will be. The other magical area I saw wasn't quite as creative with its story, the Dolmen. I think it was supposed to be a portal to another world, but honestly, it wasn't quite as believable as the witch stuff. It was kind of fun that Blarney Castle goes all in with the weird and wild stories and myths, and doesn't seem to take itself too seriously. Oh yeah, and they even have a poison garden filled with a bunch of poisonous plants. I'm not really sure why it's here or how it ties into the rest of the myth and magic of the castle grounds, but I definitely wanted to check it out. I don't remember ever seeing anything like this before. It's filled with all sorts of different poisonous and toxic plants. Some of them, I guess maybe the most poisonous ones, are locked away in cages kind of like plant jails. A couple of the plants are perfectly legal in some parts of the world, so I think their definition of poisonous was pretty broad. Blarney Castle isn't really in a livable condition anymore, but there's a huge mansion on the property called Blarney House. It has a really nicely maintained and manicured yard all around it. Even if you aren't ready to buy into all of the stories and myths, I found walking around the Blarney Estate was actually really nice with some beautiful scenery and walking paths. So I survived. I crossed one of Ireland's biggest tourist traps off my list. If you go into it expecting a lot of serious history and cultural importance, you'll be let down. But if you're okay with a super touristy spot with lots of crowds and are willing to buy into the silly stories and tall tales, then it can be a nice way to spend some time. Yesterday I got to sample some of Ireland's most famous beer, so I figured tonight I should try out their most famous whiskey. I headed to the Jameson Distillery, about 30 minutes from Blarney Castle. It's probably the most popular Irish whiskey in the world, so this seemed like fun. The tour went over how John Jameson started making whiskey in Dublin and some of the other history of the brand. No matter how many tours like this I take, I always like to see all of the equipment and behind the scenes stuff. But if I'm being honest, what I was really looking forward to was the taste test. I can't say that I'm a whiskey expert, but it tasted pretty good to me. But this was just about the end of my time at the southern tip of Ireland in County Cork. As I said before, I've been to Cork before and had an incredible visit. So since my time here was limited, I did a few things I didn't have a chance to the first time I was here. But hopefully I'll be back again and I can enjoy some more of the famous Cork hospitality. And that wraps up this video. Next, I'm going a little further out west to go on a boat ride in a national park, take an oceanfront hike, see the breathtaking Irish coastline, visit some charming seaside towns, and so much more. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the video description. Hopefully you've enjoyed following along with my throwback vlog about my trip to Ireland in 2014. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments. While you're at it, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. On Instagram, I'm Firsthand Globetrotting. On Twitter, I'm Firsthand Globe. Follow me on there. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.